नमस्कार दोस्तों, आज की बातचीत में आपका हार्दिक स्वागत है। एक बार फिर से हम आपके सामने उपस्थित हैं फर्स्ट फ्राइडे फोरम का एक और अंक लेकर, यानी कि जुलाई महीने का पहला शुक्रवार और 6 बजे। इसी प्रकार हर महीने पहले शुक्रवार को 6 बजे हम आपके समक्ष उपस्थित होते हैं। हमारी बातचीत का अंग बनते हैं, हमारे वक्ता बनते हैं वो लोग जिन्होंने अपने जीवन में कोई ना कोई ऐसी विधा हासिल कर ली है, उसको आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहते हैं। आज हमारे जो मेहमान हैं उनका परिचय हमारी महफिल के सरदार देंगे। तो विधिवत जैसा कि पहले मैं हमेशा से आपको बताता रहता हूँ, आज भी मैं उन्हीं को इनवाइट करूँगा। सबसे पहले भट्टी साहब, आप आइए, हमारे वक्ता का परिचय देते हुए मंच और माइक उनके हवाले कीजिए। और मीनवाइल जब तक एक सभी के लिए जानकारी, अगर आप जब वक्ता बोल रहे हो तब बीच में माइक और कैमरा मत ऑन करिएगा। अगर आपको इंटरेक्शन करना होगा तो उसके लिए आपको आखिर में मौका दिया जाएगा। सर प्लीज़, आपका स्वागत है।
Thank you very much. Welcome Navjot Kaur, our speaker this evening. She is a student at University Institute of Architecture, Chandigarh University, where I have been going for about 2 years as Professor Emeritus of Architecture. As a matter of habit, I explored on few occasions who among the younger lot would be interested in interaction in which public is involved. And I was very happy to discover that for four of them, two from the final year and two from the third year. Navjot is from the third year and she's the second one. These four students I identified, I prepared them for a lecture in their college in which they were given a certain topic, which I introduced and monitored, and they did a very good job, which encouraged me to have them speak to us under the auspices of First Friday Forum. And Navjot is here under that program. What struck me most among these young people were their perceptions of reality, which are very unlike ours. And I think that's a very good sign for the future of the world, because young people come with young ideas, which are usually, shut down under the authority of the oldies. But I've been encouraging people with younger ideas to carry on and don't give any importance to what others say. So in this case, Navjot has prepared a very interesting subject in which emotion is the center stage, human sentiment, and she's going to tell us how emotion is what makes architecture last. Not the building, not the engineering, not anything else in terms of material manifestation of this subject. I'm quite sure this is going to be a very interesting, not merely interesting, but an eye-opener for people who may not have looked at architecture in that sense. Let us see what she has to speak, and then we can discuss, because there are many other dimensions of the subject. I'm happy she agreed to speak to us this evening on my request. You are welcome, Navjot.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Navjot. It's so good to see you here.
Thank you, ma'am.
And all the best. And I really look forward to your presentation. Good
Thank you,
evening,
ma'am.
sir.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to Bhatti sir for this opportunity to present at today's First Friday Forum. The topic I would like to explore today is architecture and emotions, designing spaces that are felt and not just seen. While architecture is often discussed through drawings, structures, and materials, I believe its deepest impact lies elsewhere, in the way it quietly shapes our emotions, our memories, and the experiences we carry with us. even long after we have left a place. This presentation is an invitation to look at architecture not just as something we see, but as something we feel. Have you ever entered a place or something where you immediately felt a different emotion? Maybe you were calm. Just give me a minute. Maybe we were calm, we were awe, maybe nostalgia, and maybe even we feel even discomfort. Why does that happen? And I would like to explore the relationship between architecture and emotions and how spaces influence the way we feel, we remember, and we experience the world around us. To begin with, let us think about the places that remain with us even long after we have left them. Think about a place you remember clearly. It could be your childhood home, a classroom, a temple, a hospital, or even a railway station. Chances are that you do not remember its exact dimensions. You remember how it felt, the comfort, the excitement, the fear, the belonging. This raises an interesting question. Why do some places become unforgettable while others fade from our memory? This question became personal for me through an experience of my own life. For nearly 15 years, I spent most of time of my every summer vacation at my maternal uncle's home. It became a place filled with memories and familiarity. When the old house was replaced by a new one, I initially felt a sense of loss. I thought something important was disappearing. But when I visited the new house, I realized something interesting. The walls had changed, the room had changed, furniture was also changed. Yet something remained because the people and experiences were still there. That made me realize that spaces gain meaning through human emotions and memories. And that realization has led me to a broader question about architecture itself. We think about memorable places. We rarely think about floor plans or dimensions. Instead, we remember moments. We remember conversations. We remember comfort. We remember belonging. In many ways, architecture became the stage upon which human experiences unfold. This is why I believe we do not remember places by their dimensions, but how they made us feel. But if emotions are connected to a space, then an important question emerges. Are emotions simply created by memories? Or can architecture influence it? Can architecture influence how we feel? Can a space make us feel calm? Can it encourage reflection? Can it reduce stress? Research and experiences suggest that answer is yes. Through light, material, scale, sound, and movement, architecture continuously affects our emotional state. To understand this better, we first need to understand how humans experience space. So let us begin with the way our senses interact with architecture. Before architecture becomes a memory, it becomes an experience. And every experience begins with our senses. We see spaces, we hear them, we touch them, we smell them, we feel their temperature. Architecture is therefore not simply visual, it is multisensory. When we enter a library, we notice the silence. In a temple, we notice the atmosphere. In a cafe, we notice smell, sound, and warmth. In a, According to architectural theorist Zohani Palasama, we experience architecture with our entire body and not just our eyes. Among all the sensory elements which we talked about, one has perhaps the greatest emotional impact, and that is light. Light is the one of most powerful tools available to architects. It does not create, it not only just illuminates a space, it creates atmosphere. Think about a softly lit meditation room. It immediately feels calm and reflective. Now think about a dramatic shadow inside a memorial or a museum. The same light can create tension, mystery, or even sorrow. Throughout history, architects have used not only light for visibility, but for emotions. Light has the ability to guide our attention and shape our psychological response to a space. If light affects emotions, then there are a few other things which affect them too. The second is material. Every material carries emotional association, which often feels warm and familiar. Stone feels permanent and timeless. Concrete feels powerful, raw, or even sphere. Glass often suggests openness and transparency. Before we consciously analyze the material, our mind has already begun interpreting it. This is why material selection is not only a technical decision, it is also an emotional decision. Architects are constantly choosing what a space should feel like through materials they use. And if we go beyond materials, the size and scale of a space also influence our emotions. Imagine standing inside a massive cathedral. The height of the ceiling immediately makes you feel small. It creates awe and reverence. Now imagine sitting inside a reading corner, small reading corner, your personal room. The same person experiences comfort and intimacy. Neither space is better than the other. They simply create different emotional responses. Scale influences how we perceive ourselves in relation to our surroundings. Architects often use scale intentionally to create specific experiences. However, emotion is rarely created by a single moment. It is often developed through movement. Architecture is not experienced all at once. We move through it. We discover it gradually. A narrow corridor leading into a large courtyard often gives a feeling of relief. A dark path leading to a bright open space creates a feeling of hope and revelation. A low ceiling followed by a high ceiling can create surprise and awe. These transitions are powerful because they create contrast. Emotions often emerges from not from a single space, but from the journey between them. Architecture, in this sense, becomes a carefully choreographed experience. If architecture shapes experiences, how do these experiences become memory? Memory and a place. Some places become deeply connected to who we are. They are no longer just locations, they become a part of our personal story. The emotional bond is often referred to as a place attachment. It explains why people feel connected to childhood homes, schools, neighborhoods, and even cities. The stronger the memories associated with a place are, the stronger the attachment becomes. Architecture provides the setting for these memories to form. The distinction between it is clear when we compare a house and a home. A house is a structure. It can be measured, it can be drawn, it can be constructed. A home, however, is something different. A home is created with experiences through family gatherings, through routines, movements, moments of joy and grief. The two houses may look identical, yet one may feel like home and other may not. This illustrates how emotional meaning throughout physical space transforms a physical space. And this relationship between space and emotion exists far beyond our homes. Most of us have spent years inside educational environments, yet we rarely think about their design, how their design affects us. A classroom with a natural light, comfortable seating, and a good ventilation supports concentration and well-being. Poorly designed spaces can contribute to stress, fatigue, and distraction. Architecture, therefore, influences not only what we learn, but how we feel while learning. Educational spaces shape confidence, interaction, and engagement. Perhaps nowhere is emotional experience more important than in healthcare environments. Hospitals are often associated with anxiety and uncertainty. Patients arrive during some of their most vulnerable moments in their lives. Research has shown that access to daylight, nature, and pleasant views can positively influence recovery. A healing environment does not replace medicine, but it can reduce stress and improve emotional well being. This demonstrates how architecture can actively contribute to human health. The same principle applies everywhere we spend a significant part of our life, and that is our workplaces. Workplaces are often designed around efficiency, but human beings are not machines. We respond to comfort, social interaction, privacy, and connections. Spaces that support collaboration can encourage creativity. Spaces that provide quiet areas can improve focus. The design of a workplace influences mood, productivity, or even relationships. This reminds us that architecture is not simply about accommodating activities, it's about shaping experiences. And And up to this point, we have seen how architecture influences emotion in everyday life. But can architects intentionally design for specific emotional responses? So now let's think about the sacred spaces. We do visit them often, whether it is a temple, a mosque, a church, a memorial, a gurudwara, people often describe similar feelings when they enter them. They speak of peace, reflection, humility, reverence. What's interesting in these feelings are they often arise before religious activity that takes place. Architecture itself contributes to the experience. Height, light, silence, symmetry, and materiality all work together to create an emotional atmosphere. These papers demonstrate that architecture communicates emotionally before it communicates intellectually. If sacred spaces can evoke reverence, other spaces can evoke entirely different emotions. One of the most powerful examples of emotional architecture is Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Notice how the memorial does not rely on dramatic sculptures or elaborate symbolism. Instead, it uses a descending path, reflective black stone, and names of those who were lost. As visitors move through the memorial, they gradually descend into the earth. The experience becomes personal and introspective. People often become more emotional than they consciously analyze the design. This demonstrates that architecture can communicate grief, remembrance, and reflection without words. The architecture itself becomes the part of the mourning process. But architecture is not only capable of expressing grief. Now let's consider the opposite emotional spectrum. Think about parks, public spaces, playgrounds, community spaces, plazas. These environments are often associated with joy, freedom, and social interaction. Why? Because they encourage movement, they encourage gathering, they provide openness, visibility, and opportunities for human connections. The design itself promotes positive experiences. This reminds us that emotional responses are not accidental. They are often shaped by intentional design decisions. But are these emotional responses merely subjective, or is there any scientific evidence behind them? That takes us to our next chapter. In recent years, a fascinating field known as neuroarchitecture has emerged. Neuroarchitecture combines neuroscience and architecture. It studies how built environment affect human brain and behavior. Instead of asking, does people like the building? Researchers ask, what happens inside the brain when people experience this space? This field helps us understand why certain environments reduce stress, improve focus, and encourage social interaction. It provides scientific evidence for something architects have intuitively understood for centuries. Spaces influence people. So, what exactly happens inside our brain? The science behind the emotion. Our surroundings continuously affect our mental state. Stressful environments can increase anxiety and cognitive fatigue. Environments with daylight, nature, comfort, and visual connection can reduce stress and improve well being. Researchers have shown that exposure to natural light improves mood. Access to views and greenery supports recovery and mental health. Comfortable environments help people feel safe and focused. This means that architecture is not merely aesthetics, it has a measurable psychological consequences. In other words, architecture affects not only where we live, but it affects how we live. And if our brains respond strongly to nature, there may be a reason for that. So, one architect who deeply explored the emotional dimensions of architecture is Peter Summerther. Summerther believed that great architecture is not only seen but felt. He introduced the idea of atmosphere, the emotional character of a place. Think about entering a space and instantly feeling calm, reflective, or even uneasy. According to Summerther, that feeling is not accidental. It is carefully shaped through light, material, sound, proportions, and texture. One of his most famous projects, Calm Walls, demonstrates this beautifully. Stone, water, silence, and controlled light. They work together to create a deeply immersive experiences. Visitors often remember what not they saw, but what they felt. And that is exactly what atmosphere is. Atmosphere is invisible material of architecture. If Samatha focused on atmosphere, we have another architect who challenged the idea that architecture is primitively visual. Moving to the next architect, Zahani Palasama. He argued that architecture has become overly dependent on vision. We often judge buildings through photographs, but photographs cannot capture smell. They cannot capture temperature. They cannot capture sound, texture, or movement. In his book, The Eyes of Skin, he stressed that architecture should engage the entire body. We remember the coolness of stone, the warmth of wood, the echoes inside a cathedral, the silence of a library. These experiences create emotional connections that go beyond appearances. For Palasama, architecture is not something we merely look at, it is something we live through. We experience architecture with our entire body, not just our eyes. Together, Zamathar and Palasama help me understand that emotion is not separate from architecture, it is embedded within it. So, if we traditionally look at architecture, it is evaluated through function. Does the building stand? Does it perform efficiently? Does it meet the program requirements? These questions are important, but they are not enough. A building can function perfectly and still leave no emotional impact. The spaces, the spaces we remember are often those that move us in some way. They make us feel safe, inspired, connected, reflective, meaningful. Good architecture functions. Great architecture resonates. And if emotions matter so much, perhaps architects need to ask a different question during their design process. Architects often begin with questions like what activities will happen here? How many users will occupy the space? What are the functional requirements? These questions are necessary. But what if we add another question here? How should people feel here? Should they feel calm, curious, inspired, connected, reflective? The answer to that question influences every design decision that follows. Light, material, scale, sound, sequence. In this way, emotion becomes a design parameter rather than an accidental outcome. Designing for emotions. Throughout this presentation, we have explored how architecture influences human emotions. But what does that mean for architects in practice? It means that every design decision carries emotional consequences. Light can create calm or drama. Materials can create warmth or distance. Scale can create awe or intimacy. Nature can provide comfort. Sound can influence focus and reflection. Spatial sequence can create surprise, tension, or relief. None of these elements work in isolation. Together, they shape emotional character of a place. As architects, we are not only designing buildings, we are designing experiences. And this understanding is becoming increasingly important for future of our profession. For many years, architecture has focused on solving physical problems like sustainability, efficiency, technology, smart systems. They remain important. But today's world is also facing challenges related to mental health, loneliness, stress, and well being. As a result, architects are beginning to ask different questions. How can spaces reduce anxiety? How can they support healing? How can they encourage connection and belonging? This is why fields such as neuroarchitecture and human centered designs are becoming increasingly relevant. The future of architecture is not simply about smarter buildings, it is about creating more human buildings, which brings us back to fundamental relationship between people and space. Winston Churchill once said, "We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us." The more I explored this topic, the more I realized how true this statement is. We design schools, yet schools shape how students learn. We design workplaces, yet workplaces shape how people collaborate. We designed hospitals, yet hospitals influence healing. We designed homes, yet homes become part of our identity. Architecture and emotion. They are both related to human experience and are inseparable. The relationship works both ways, and perhaps that is why some places stay with us forever. We do not remember spaces by their dimensions, but how they made us feel. Throughout this presentation, I have spoken about light, material, scale, memory, neuroscience, and design. But ultimately, all of these ideas lead to a simple question and simple realization. Architecture is not about creating places, it is about creating experiences. Experiences that comfort us, challenge us, inspire us, heal us, and stay with us long after we leave. Because in the end, architecture becomes meaningful not when it is built, but when it is felt. Thank you. I hope this presentation has encouraged you to think about architecture not only as design of buildings, but as design of human experiences. Thank you.
Navjot,
Indeed.
it was a beautiful presentation, and the flow of the presentation was very, very good. And above all, the expressions that you were giving in the presentation were very interesting. And foremost, I thank Bhatti sir for giving you this platform. And I think you did a good justice to the platform. Uh, I don't know if
Thank you,
Bhatti sir
ma'am.
will want to, but this entire presentation, he has written 4 lines, which probably is called a sonnet than a poem. So I don't know if he would like to share that here, but that reminded me and connected me with those 4 lines. So very proud of you, Navjot. You're making me feel so happy, and I'm sure the entire faculty who have joined are feeling very good about this.
Read out
Thank
the
you.
four lines.
I can read that out, sir.
Sure, sure.
Although, yeah, I might not give the right pauses because as I said, the poem is a little, it's very deep, and let me try my best. So, architecture, space, structure, form, time, and light. Structure, order, space, form makes habitation. Everyone has a notion of it, except what's right. Architecture is omniart, a matrix of civilization. So, in the first go, this is 4 lines, but it was very deep. Since sir had sent an explanation along with it, I could understand it more, and I could now relate it even better. So I don't know if these 4 lines have resonated with others because they haven't read uh, the explanation, but the author is right here. So maybe maybe my pauses were at the wrong place. So I think, sir, you can best explain what I'm trying to say.
This is Professor Swati Upal. She has a brilliant team because she herself is a very brilliant person. And the most beautiful thing about her is that she has a bubbly enthusiasm, but it doesn't show on her face. So quite quietly and calmly, she takes everyone along, and that is why this result is so brilliant. That a student of raw age can so brilliantly speak of a subject which is deeply philosophical and hardly ever attempted by any student so far. Uh, she has her staff. I think this attendance is the largest so far. Even I could not get any audience except Mr. Bansal and Anil Saab and the speaker. She has about 22 of them listening to the brilliant presentation. Uh, we'll talk about that. Let us hear others' reaction on this.
राइट सर।
Once,
पहले तो जो प्रेजेंटेशन था, इट वाज सच एन अमेजिंग लर्निंग, इमोशनली वेरी वेल कनेक्टेड यू फेल्ट, एंड वी आल्सो फेल्ट द सेम थिंग with the topic. Now, as we do every time after the speaker's note, we invite one by one each and everybody from the participants list, based on the alphabetic order. So please allow me to go by alphabet only. The first participant I'm going to call is Akansha Sharma. So ma'am, if you can please switch on your mic, and if possible the camera as well. Then second, Anant Chaudhary. I'm just reading whatever it is written over there, so please अनिल शर्मा जी.
Uh, well done, Navjot. It was really well prepared, well presented presentation. You had put a lot of intellect in it, emotions, and hard work also, and
Thank you,
really
sir.
appreciable. I you. The only difference opinion I have is about the classroom. You said the open classroom, which is open to the outside, is good, and closed is the bad ones. The only thing is कि when because once you are sitting in a classroom, तो आपका पूरा जो कंसंट्रेशन होना चाहिए ब्लैक बोर्ड के ऊपर या टीचर की जो बात कर रहे हैं with the way is telling you whatever is teaching you. But if things are open, then naturally some distraction has to come. So I, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that could be the maybe. Otherwise, the whole thing was really worth remembering, and I really appreciate you so much. Good, good one.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you so
Thank you very
much.
much. Akansha Sharma ji, please, you may speak.
Thank you, Navjot. It was really very insightful presentation and interesting also. But I have one question in my mind. That is, since the same, sometimes same space can evoke different type of emotions to different peoples, then
Yes.
how can you, as an architect, objectively measures that emotional impact of their same building or space?
Yeah, space can evoke different emotions depending on how different people perceive it. But as an architect, what we can do our best is that creating the most positive output, the most positive environment which we can give, which we can make people relate to nature. Because nature is the most positive and it is most relatable. Even if a person is sad or is feeling down, if he goes out in nature, if he sits outside, it makes him or her feel calm. It can make him feel different. It evokes different emotions in him. But we can do our best to create a most positive outcome which we can do, which is in our hands.
टॉपिक वॉज रियली वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग और हम ये वाला टॉपिक स्टूडियो में भी फ्लोट कर सकते हैं ताकि स्टूडेंट्स उसको ये सारी चीजों को अंडरस्टैंड करके अपना डिजाइन को और अच्छे से कुछ एक एस्पेक्ट लेके आ सके उसके डिजाइन में ना. इट वाज नाइस प्रेजेंटेशन. थैंक यू बेटा.
Thank you, ma'am.
Professor Akanksha is principal at Ludhiana Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College. She is the head of architecture school. Welcome, Akanksha.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर. थैंक यू सर.
आई थिंक जो आज हमने सुना है उसको पोइट्स ने बड़े अच्छे तरीके से अपने कविताओं में भी लाया है कि मुझसे दरो दीवार बातें करते हैं. तो मुझे लगता है कि नवजोत ने वो दरो दीवार जो बातें करते हैं वो उसी के बारे में आज चर्चा की है. तो आगे बढ़ते हुए बिल्ड जेनिक्स के नाम से हमारे पास आईडी है, हम उनको इनवाइट करते हैं. जब तक उनका कैमरा या माइक ऑन होता है वी मूव अहेड. दीप्ति गोयल जी हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं. आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट मैडम दीप्ति गोयल. प्लीज स्विच ऑन योर कैमरा और माइक.
Hello, Navjot. Hello, Bhatti sir.
Hello.
First of all, congratulations, Navjot. बहुत अच्छा you have like done the presentation. I remember a few time back when I recommended your name, you were so nervous that you can't give your presentation. But seeing you came a long way make me so happy. Keep the spirit high. All the best for your future. Good job.
Thank you, Dee.
Deepthi is pursuing her postgraduate at SEPT in Ahmedabad. She was a student of my classes also for a while. She had spoken to us on this platform.
राइट सर. देन नेक्स्ट वी आई इनवाइट धरनी मिड्ढा जी. धरनी मिड्ढा जी और प्लीज़ प्लीज़ लाओ मी क्योंकि नेम अलग अलग तरह साउंड करते हैं. इट्स धरनी और धारिनी. सो प्लीज़ मिड्ढा जी आप माइक ऑन कर सकते
हाँ
हैं.
जी. हाँ जी. Good evening all. It's Dharini Midda. I'm assistant professor in GNDC School of Architecture, Ludhiana. Navjot, it was a very interesting presentation. I think topic was very interesting. As Akanksha ma'am has also mentioned, we can incorporate in our studios because in these times, I think the problems which are rising, our mental health problem issues are there. So I think architecture and emotion are very interesting and very, I think the need of the art is architecture, and because we are going in the concrete jungle, so I think architecture and emotions need to be well managed by our fraternity only. And once again, congratulations to you, and very nice topic, I must say. Very nice
Thank you,
presentation.
ma'am.
Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच मैम। तो इन्होंने ना सिर्फ ये कहा कि आर्किटेक्चर बातें करता है, बल्कि लोगों को ठीक भी कर देता है। तो मुझे लगता है कि इनको तो ज़रूर आगे आर्किटेक्चर करने के साथ डॉक्टरी भी करनी पड़ेगी साथ में। जानवी जी ने हमें बहुत लेट ज्वाइन किया था। जानवी जी, अगर आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं प्लीज़ माइक ऑन कर सकते हैं। उसके बाद लक्ष्मीकांत नायक जी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। सर आप प्लीज़ माइक ऑन कर सकते हैं। नविता सिंह मैम हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। मैम आप माइक ऑन कर सकते हैं।
Yeah, congratulations, Navjot. That was a very nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I think it's a very appropriate topic. Even when we were not talking about this, it was always there. Architecture was always influencing the, emotions of people and how they feel in that space. So it's a good thing that we are making it a point, to focus on this area, because uh, earlier nobody was really talking about it like this, even though all buildings have a very major impact, especially on its inhabitants. Like now, like another participant member was talking about the classrooms. So immediately it took me back to my college days in CCA. So we were very fortunate to study in a college which was designed by Le Corbusier himself. And in that, if you see how the classrooms or the studios are designed, the you have the walls on all sides. Like they were saying that if nature is there, you will get distracted. So in this case, it's kind of, you hardly have any openings on the walls, but you have these fantastic northern lights, north light he has taken, and he has given that. If you have seen the design, I'm not too sure if you have seen it. It's an
I have
amazing
seen.
design where the north light is sweeping up, and that gives the elevation also the a very good dimension, and a very good identity, architectural identity. So I was taken back to my college days. So you won't believe it, even there, when we did not have any windows or any openings looking towards the outside, the interiors were pretty cheerful. And when we were in the classrooms, we never felt like, oh, how depressing, we can't connect with nature outside, so that part of focusing on the lecture, that was achieved, along with a very bright and cheerful environment because of so much of light, north light coming in. And then the other part of connecting with nature was done through the corridors. The corridors are actually connecting with the nature outside to the Bryce Solel. And as you move around, you then there is a very nice courtyard in the middle, and that was like the place where everybody used to get together, and was like an amazing connect with nature. So I think now if we see, we might be able to get that psychological link with the design, but I think it was very carefully thought of. So it was, all this was there earlier also. The architects who were designing sensitively were keeping this in mind. And architecture, we cannot design without keeping this in mind, because we are creating something permanent. And if it's going to impact somebody adversely, then it's a job not well done, I would say. So thanks for bringing up this very important topic with a very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for insightful and the wonderful comments from your side. Now I invite Nadiringo Elia Mangi ji. I already apologize कि मैं सारे नाम pronounce नहीं कर सकता.
Okay, thank you a lot. Good evening to everybody. The presentation was so nice. Congratulations, ma'am. Even though I am from the civil engineering department, through your presentation, I could relate some intricate points between architecture and us as the contractors or as the builders of the designed spaces. So it's an eye-opening for us, and a call to challenge that we should get innovative so that those ideas that you are presenting should come to fruitfulness. That is all that I would say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Suket Chandra Sharma ji, please.
हेलो
जी सर जी सुन पा रहे हैं आपको.
अरुण जी, मेरे को सुन पा रहे हैं ना आप?
हाँ जी सुन पा रहे हैं सर, सुन पा रहे हैं.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
हाँ,
फर्स्ट ऑफ
सुन रहे
ऑल
हैं।
मैं भट्टी साहब का धन्यवाद करूंगा. भट्टी साहब बच्चों को बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस दे रहे हैं. ये जो हो सकता है कि उनको कहीं अपनी कॉन्फ्रेंस में भी ये एक्सपीरियंस ना मिले, आई थिंक इट्स ए वेरी गुड स्टेप बाय डॉक्टर भट्टी जी. तो नवजोत, यू आल्सो प्रेजेंटेड वेरी वेल. बट बेटे, मेरी आपको एक सजेशन है. यू ट्राई टू टेक योर ओन पिक्चर्स. जो आर्किटेक्ट होते हैं ना, बडिंग आर्किटेक्ट जो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, उनको जितना मैक्सिमम विजिट करना हो ना, जहाँ टारगेट ढूंढो, कौन सा बेस्ट टारगेट है मेरे टॉपिक के लिए, जो पॉसिबल हो, अपनी पिक्चर्स क्लिक करो, उसको किसी की हेल्प ले लो, और उसको 2-3 जो नेचुरल टाइप होता है ना, जो कोई भी प्रेजेंटेशन का, जो अपनी सेल्फ पिक्चर्स होती है ना क्लिक की हुई, they are always very useful. You tell others also new idea instead of taking all ready-made pictures. So work hard. You presented very
Yes.
well, as told by other your colleagues or madams that you are hesitant, but I am say you are presented very well. These are the learning
Thank you,
stage.
sir.
You become more confident. Don't think anything, that you have presented very well. Thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much. All the best.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Madam Swati Uppal ji again. If now it's her turn as well. So though she has spoken, if you would like to, ma'am, add up something to the already said something.
No. I am so enjoying everybody giving suggestions and also compliments to my student. And without turn, I barged in because I couldn't have hold myself more than that. No, thank you so much, Arun sir. नहीं, आप आगे चलो.
Right, ji. Um Now, since everybody has spoken and we are almost on time, so I would like to now call upon the last part of our दिस इवेंट. भट्टी साहब, आपका स्वागत है बहुत बहुत. आज आप की मैं देख रहा था कि ना हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट रुक पा रहे थे, ना आप रुक पा रहे थे. तो आपके पास अब समय है, आप कहिए.
I think this is one of the most brilliant, comprehensive and consistent presentations we have had. And the reactions of the audience are also very educative. Especially शंकर जो कह रहे हैं वो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि जो कर रहे हैं वो आप अपना हो, जैसे भी हो, वो ज़्यादा ऑथेंटिक होता है. बाकी भी ऐसे इम्प्रेशन जो दिए हैं लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे दिए हैं. I think they are quite supportive of your presentation. I would like to, as I always do, go back to the beginning so that the confusion created by theorists and philosophers and whoever else can be cleared. I would like to tell you that in Hindu mythology, this is my lifelong study. I figured out ultimately that teaching of architecture should begin there, not in studios or elsewhere. Because in this case, Lord Vishwakarma created the cosmos. And he deployed only 2 elements, space and time. And ever since, it has been going on its own because it is self-renewing. The creativity is built into it. And this This is important to appreciate because the other three principal deities, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they did not have the platform or the stage where to perform. They had all the other parts to create, to provide, protect, and to destroy. But they did not have the power to create the cosmos. So, in that sense, architecture is where you begin. The cosmos began with architecture, and architecture has been defined and classified as an emotion, as an art. And the purpose of art, as I have understood, is to express emotion. To express emotion, not to evoke emotion. As you must have seen in these reality shows, that any artist performing well unconsciously does better than when he's told he's wonderful. Then he becomes conscious and tries to evoke emotion of the audience, which is playing to the gallery, which I think then it's polluted. It is not pure. So in that sense, as you may notice from the study of human history, man became artist first before he became anything else, because this creativity was connected with emotion. And there is evidence that 70,000 years ago, man who had no resources whatsoever created works of art in the caves. So if you take your clue from there and come this far, you should understand also that if emotion is uh, all encompassing, what is it? To my mind, I have defined it. There's a emotion is a high jumper. It can jump to any height, but it will fall down at the same place. And the problem about emotion is that it can't be communicated, it can't be transmitted. So what do? We take a course to something else, and that is reason. And through reason, we construct a dialogue in which emotion is built, and then it is carried across. The kind of emotion that she has been describing is intimate, which means you are in that atmosphere created by a certain design and you're responding to that. But that doesn't always happen. For instance, I trained myself to experience emotion without being there. And for a lot many years, this this was my topic for myself. And mind you, I actually developed a sense of experiencing emotion without being there in the building itself. And the descriptions I have done are now shared by many people. They really wonder at what I've said without visiting the place. Of course, visiting the place will enable you to understand it much better, but not necessarily emotionally comprehensive. Because then you have to be emotionally alive all the time. Like someone has said, the skin has many eyes. That is okay. But you have to open those eyes by conscious effort. All this doesn't come about on its own, especially in formal education. By the time you go out of your college with a degree, you are already dead without knowing you are dead. So in that sense, that is why I was appreciating Swati's contribution to architectural education. She is just creating an atmosphere for everyone, the faculty, the students, researchers, scholars, and everyone else, so that they can find their own place in the space provided by design, and then develop their own innate genius by whatever means. The, the people who govern or who provide create only resources. The resources have to be used by everyone individually to develop their own creative genius. I'm very happy she has done such a wonderful job. And what she has done actually corroborates my own thesis that all those who are born in the 21st century are geniuses of their own kind. I'm going to publish a book shortly in which I have shown how it was done. So in that sense, it's not something very surprising for me that she is such a brilliant student. She belongs to that generation Z, in which everyone is a genius all over the globe, in all fields of human endeavor. I'm very thankful for her. You have done so much of effort in preparing this, and I'm sure she will take into account the comments given by people, which are very enlightening, and improve upon this presentation so that it can be given somewhere else. And as somebody has suggested, right, Akanksha says we can do it in the studio, which will be a very, very lively kind of interaction. I thank you, everyone who has attended this. This is the largest gathering ever, and people have spared their valuable time and listened for 21 minute 49 seconds to the brilliant speaker's presentation. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच। आज की तो जो महफिल थी वो बिल्कुल एक कविता की तरह हमारे सामने से गुजर गई, और आई एम लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू कि इस तरह के और सेशंस जो हैं हमारे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो आगे और आएंगे, और इसी तरह हमारे और सेशन भी होंगे। नवजोत जी, आपने सभी को सुन लिया और सभी ने आपको सुन लिया, लेकिन जाते समय सबसे पहले आप अगर कोई 2 शब्द और कहना चाहें सबकी सुनने के बाद, तो आप कह सकते हैं।
I have taken all the reviews and I'll try my best to incorporate them. I'll try to make the presentation which has more of my own personal pictures, my own experiences. I had a slide where I showcased my own maternal home, but I would like to add more of things like my own experiences which can enhance the presentation. I'll take all the comments into the account. Thank you.
इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ हम उस मोड़ पे आ पहुँचे हैं जहाँ पे हमें सभी को विदा कहना होगा, और तुम नहीं जब होगे तो तुम्हारे कदमों के निशान देखकर तुम्हें याद करेंगे। तो कुछ इसी तरह की शायद आज की बातचीत उन्होंने की है कि जब नक्श उभर आते हैं कहीं ना कहीं, तो हमारे वो जहन तक यूँ पहुँच जाते हैं कि वो अपने आप कविता होकर हमेशा के लिए हमारे साथ हो जाते हैं। जितने भी लोग हमारे साथ ऑनलाइन जुड़े हुए हैं, अगर आप में से कोई हमारे साथ जुड़ के अपनी कोई बात हमसे शेयर करना चाहता है इस वीडियो की थ्रेड में, आप हमारे साथ रब्ता कर सकते हैं, हमसे बातचीत कर सकते हैं। हम आपको कांटेक्ट करके ज़रूर अपनी महफिल में बुलाने की कोशिश करेंगे। और इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ जो हमारी लाइव ऑडियंस हमसे जुड़ी है, सबसे पहले मैं उनको विदा कहता हूँ। हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए बहुत 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 धन्यवाद आपका।